Okay.
Hey guys, anybody is there? This is Lindsay's YouTube channel and Scott's. We're going live on both of ours, and we have Adam with us too. Hey, so
Hey.
yeah, Scott, the sober heathen. You guys know him. Me, Lindsay. I don't even know what I'm going by these days. But we just wanted to jump in and have a chat about some personal things like God, and spirituality and recovery. And I know a lot of people ask me, do they have to have a God or believe in God to get sober or stay sober? So I thought we would start right there. And these guys have more understanding and experience than I do of God. Like, as you know, if you've watched me before, I just do the bare minimum that I can to get by and stay sober. With that, and I try to expand it, but it's by no means what anybody else probably imagines spirituality to be. So I just kind of make it up as I go along. So what do you guys have? We wanted to define a few words first.
Well, first of all, to throw a monkey wrench in this whole damn thing, right as we start, how long have you been sober, Lindsay? A
A few years.
few years. So you got a few years of sobriety by doing the bare minimum and just getting along. How's that possible?
Uh I'm probably a dry drunk right now by many definitions, right?
Yeah, except for you're not. So
Right,
anyway,
exactly.
so what we're kind of talking about was like spirituality and God. We were just talking before we went live that I went to two treatments last year, the same one, uh, a month apart, 60-day stay and 180 some odd day stay. And I went in as an atheist into this Christian based, faith based recovery system. And so the argument could easily be made by people that are theists or believers could say, well, see, why do you think that you went for 60 days and you were drunk 4 hours after you left? Because you didn't find Jesus, right?
Great.
So then I had a terrible month, and then I went back, and I did everything that I could to find something spiritual. And it wasn't until I decided that spirituality and religion were completely different things. I could have a spiritual experience set aside from the religious part that I did not like. I had no interest in. Right. So I had spiritual experiences in AA meetings when it was a bunch of dudes that have been in prison or jail or lost everything, sitting around the table every night in treatment, crying like babies and airing it all out there and connecting with all these strangers. That was spiritual to me.
Yeah.
And then, when I'd have a chance, I didn't smoke, but I'd go out on the porch with the smokers and I'd stand out just off the porch and look at the stars. And I started to find spirituality. And then all of a sudden, there was one day, without getting into my story, I guess, and
No,
taking up
go
all the
ahead.
time, but
We have
there
plenty
was
of time.
one day where when I came back, I was like a week into it. I went up to my room and I got down on my knees and I prayed for something, right? And because I was desperate. And I thought that the only way that I was going to recover was to do this. So a couple things happened and I pieced them together as this is a sign. This is a sign. These are everything that I've been looking for. And then all of a sudden the signs dried up and then there was nothing. And it's like, okay, well, I'm just a bad person again. But then I finally put everything together and realized, there was something inside of me, perhaps my spirit, that wanted to be healthy and be better. That's why it was grasping onto these things as something to hold on to, something positive in this terrible negative situation. And then I just built on that. Yeah, so I wear necklaces. I got a ancient Sumerian necklace on. I got the oath ring, which is an oath ring to myself, not a deity, to my sobriety, and I wear that every single day. And so I made these spiritual connections outside of religion and with people and things and myself. Started loving myself, and that to me is somewhat spiritual. When you can look in the mirror and not hate yourself. So that's just kind of my little take on it.
Yeah, I think you touched on something there that I wrestle with probably my entire life is when we think about spirituality, a lot of times we think about things we do and things we observe and things we partake in, where it finally dawned on me, and it's been kind of eye-opening in the last, I don't know, 2 years or so, especially the last 6 months, is that spirituality is within. It's going within yourself to better understand yourself and transform your own soul, your own spirit, to align with whatever you have figured out your purpose to be. And then we confuse that with the process of discovering what that purpose is, or the process of transforming ourselves. So I think that's where a lot of people get thrown off, is that we go and say, hey, you know, from a sobriety context, you need a spiritual program. And the spiritual program is the development, the transformation of ourselves, not putting our faith in something external. So it's one of the fundamental things that I have a problem with traditional 12-step, but you know, that's just me.
Yeah. Well, talk about that some more, if you will.
All right, so we were trying to define everything. I wrote this a couple months ago when I was trying to define spirituality for myself. And I wrote down, spirituality is an individual's search for personal growth and transformation, careful study and understanding of their deepest values and beliefs, so that they may discover their ultimate meaning and purpose in life. Which you could argue that recovery is spirituality. Because you could easily apply that definition to recovery, because what are we doing is we're trying to get back to a state of being where we're not dependent on substances and we're going out and living our life. So
with purpose and meaning.
With purpose and meaning, exactly right. Exactly right.
That's what I truly believe. That's what got me into this mess to begin with. I had no purpose. I had no meaning. I had nothing fulfilling going on. I had all kinds of great things in my life. That I had.
Me too.
Perfect woman. I had great kids. I had a great future stepson. I was making way more money than I'm making now. And something is missing on the inside.
Exactly right. Exactly the same thing here. Exactly the same thing. The argument is, how do you go about finding that? And that's where a lot of the arguments between how do you get sober and which religion is best is the arguments over the process, not necessarily the result.
Yeah.
True. What do you think when people say God-shaped hole?
Scott, you want that one?
I mean, I just like, what do you think when people say like they have a void, like a God-shaped hole? That did kind of come out.
For me personally, it was that meaning and that purpose. You know, to me, God is the creator. God is, for lack, to go the science route, God is a supreme frequency. Mm-hmm. God is ultimate energy. And I didn't know what my purpose was. And so having that God-shaped hole was just being lost.
Yeah.
And so needing to find how I fit into the plan, what my plan was, what I'm supposed to do has been part of my recovery. So.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm working on this workbook now, and I'm like in the first chapter, and it talks about like, what do you really want to do with your life? I forget how it worded it, but I was just like, what? It's so simple. And it's like, well, of course, you know what you want to do with your life. Like, what do you want your life to be? What do you want? And I was thinking, like, how do I specifically want my life? Like, what do I want my life to account for?
Most people can't answer that question. And I think I had mentioned this to you before. Most people can't. You ask them what they want, they don't know. They can tell you what they don't want.
Yeah.
Very few people can tell you what they want. And to me, that is kind of one of the core tenets of recovery is you figure out what you want, and then you will reprogram yourself and your thoughts into helping you align with that. But until you know what you want and all you're doing is just staying sober, it's just another day.
It's so hard to do that without even a direction. Like, well, think about like clarification of values. I thought, well, I have values, right? Like I didn't even know, well, what is qualifies something as a value. And when I got sober, and I do this worksheet with my clients now, and it really helped me when I was doing it.
Yeah.
I'm making a checklist of what do I really value in life, and that is kind of like put me on a more defined path. And that's kind of like, that's all part of my spirituality. Like when I say bare minimum, I mean like when we started, and I'm talking about that is like, I had this rough idea that I had to have God in a religious thing, and I didn't understand what the difference was, like what Scott explained. I had no idea that there even was a difference. And so that part of me, I expounded on this. And so that's true spirituality that I've come to find out. And the religion or whatever, and they say, um, certain programs aren't religious. So that's cool too, whatever, right? But this is just the direction I've gone in, and not even realizing it. Like your definition of spirituality is exactly, I mean, it's exactly what we're doing in recovery, like you said.
Right.
How can I stay sober if I don't have these values though, too? I thought about like, what can you really, why would you stay sober? Like,
Right.
you don't
Right.
value that stuff. So
Yeah.
I found that to be really
I mean,
helpful.
I had a lot of values. I guess maybe I'm looking at the word differently. Like, I mean, I valued Miley. I valued my
Right.
children. I valued all their concerns. I just didn't value anything about myself. And so that bled by not having any value in myself, made the appearance that I didn't value them by being passed out or lying to about the
Right.
drink. It had nothing to do with them.
Right.
Just
Right.
didn't,
Exactly.
I just didn't. Yeah, I didn't give a shit about the dude that was presenting all these things.
Exactly. I think like, and that's kind of like, well, and I know you value authenticity. So things like that I didn't even know, and honesty, I didn't value honesty before.
Dude,
And that all relates to others, all these things that I thought I valued, my family or whatever. And I do, like, I love them and care about them, but I guess I didn't know how to like connect that with
dude.
Yeah.
myself, and to
Yeah.
show it.
Yep.
And I
Yeah.
still really lack in that area. And it's a work in progress.
I told the guys I had to run the domestic violence class today at work.
Ooh.
And I told those guys at the end of the day, because, not all of them, but most of them have some substance use things in the background. But either way, when you're dealing with something, I told them it's, you're not going to be able to be as, I always use the word authentic, but you're not always going to be able to be completely honest with every single person. But the more that you do it, the more honest and authentic that you are, the lighter the load of the world is. And so when I started my podcast and I get on and just started sharing everything and not really holding anything back, airing my dirty laundry. I mean, I was just on that Canadian radio show, and the first thing that popped in my head when I was talking was talking about how I wore a T-shirt for pants to the gas station.
That was great.
And the guy, and the guy starts cracking up or whatever,
He was like not sure if you were serious.
Yeah. And, well, so my point is, like now I just talk about it open. And, I'm not I don't feel bad about it because I know I am committed to the fact that I did bad things, but I am not a bad person. And is life good now? It's good on the outside. On the inside, and I post about this all the time. I'm struggling on the inside to stay positive and keep going on a daily basis. I'm still trying to work that out. But it never equates back to filling the void with alcohol. I know there's something going on and I can deal with it and I can talk about it and say, I feel like shit today. I'm not looking for attention, but I want to put it out there because that's what's worked for me up until this point. When I really got serious, I got out of treatment, I came home, I started the podcast. Talking about it and keeping it out there is what's worked for me. And I've had far more people send me DMs or send comments saying, dude, I really appreciate what you're doing. And talk about, I needed to hear this today. I'm in the same boat. It's going to be okay.
Yeah.
And that's, I don't know, that's my core right now. That's what's keeping me going.
Awesome.
Yeah, that was well said. I have a similar experience, as you guys know. And I don't like to share about what I'm struggling, but I am too struggling recently, and that is probably why I'm on here so much. And I don't know, and I try to figure out what it is, and I'm like, oh, maybe it's the weather and this and that, and but it doesn't matter, because whatever it is, there's some, I'm struggling a little bit, but it doesn't even matter because I'm doing the work, right? Like, I'm trying to be connected to myself. I know that I was trying to explain this to a client the other day, and I don't know how to properly explain it, but tell me if you guys can relate. It's like, before, when I relapsed after having years sober, I had this depressed underlying stuff going on, right? And I just remember, like, I kept crying, and I'm like, oh my god, I have to get this depression under control, or whatever, because I don't want to relapse, because that's what I do, is feelings get uncomfortable, and then I'm like, I don't know which way to go. Got it. Yeah, that's it, because it's like, this is the end of the line, right? And I don't know what else to do. And so that scared me. And I thought about this the other day, and I'm like, damn, I don't know if the client like thought I was crazy. And I said this, I'm like, unfortunately or fortunately, I said, the relapse that was over here and part of my little circle isn't there anymore. And I'm like, I know that, like, I got to keep going past it and, like, actually find a coping skill. I said it. She was probably like, what the fuck? The way I said it. Because I know that when I drank and I was looking for that relief when I relapsed, like, it wasn't there. Like, it really wasn't there. I'm not even just saying it. Like, there was no relief. It literally was. It made it worse. And a lot of people I've heard will say, like, yeah, it gave me that. Like, I don't know how they still have that payoff. Like, mine, no payoff. Like, it wasn't there. It didn't make me forget anything. And then I'm just in more of a mess. So now I'm like, not an option. So fortunately or unfortunately, it's not there, and I have to, it doesn't matter. Whatever I got to do, if I'm going to be depressed, I don't want to sit in that, obviously, for very long, because it could lead to that, down the line. But I got to figure it out. Whatever I got to do now, I got to share about it. I got to talk about it. And I don't want to look less than perfect. You know what I mean? But that's not like I do, right? But like,
you don't want people to know that there's anything wrong. Like, I'm good. Good. How are you doing? Doing okay? I'm good, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
right.
know and then I'll, if you notice, well, you guys probably have noticed, but if someone says to me, like, oh, don't drink or do this, and I'm like, I'm not gonna drink. Like, I'm fine. And then I'm like, how dare you fucking try to help me? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I in the meetings that I've been to, there's a lot of times that you'll see somebody in there, right? And they come in, they got a scowl on their face, they go get their coffee, they got a couple smart ass comments here and there to people or whatever, and then they start telling their story, like, yeah, my life's never been better since I quit drinking. Make the coffee. Shut up and make the coffee. That's what you do. You shut your mouth, open your ears. All right.
Put the cotton in.
Yeah, take the cotton out of your ears and put it in your mouth. Boy, you just sound so happy and so carefree, right? Like, why don't you just be honest? You don't have to. You're not a car salesman in a meeting. Attraction over promotion. So that's one of the cornerstones supposed to be. So yeah, you know what? I've been sober 42 years, and today sucks. And if I could drink like a normal person, I would drink. That's honesty. That's going to draw me in and say, dude, I get it. Okay. So he's 42 years. Life is still going to suck, but there's better ways to go about it. That's what's going to draw me in, not these miserable bastards that are in there, and we've seen it on X. We're just talking about one, and I won't say his name because I don't want to conjure his spirit. It's like Beetlejuice. But
true.
You are so miserable that you have to search out somebody that you're not even, there's two of them actually, and the one guy's not even following me, and he blocked me, and then he unblocked me just to come back to find my posts and my comments. Be a miserable bastard. And it's like, dude, that is not attracting anybody. Fuck.
No, what I don't know what that. I mean, I do think I know. It's like it's the misery is just so deep with the person that it's like, you know, like, how dare you be happy? Like this is recovery. Life sucks, and you're gonna know.
Yeah.
To me, there's two things that can possibly be going on there. One is obviously an ego, whether they mean to or not, you know, it's inflating their own ego because, hey, I've got years sober and this is how I did it, so this is how you have to do it. But two, just like alcohol or any other substance, your body can get addicted to the own chemicals that it produces.
Yeah.
So if you're constantly just a bastard all the time to everybody, all those brain cocktails it's making, your body gets used to that. And if you don't produce those, then you're going to be even more of a bastard to everybody. I mean, you just get grumpy and angry. So you have to stay in that self-perpetuating cycle. And yeah,
they're getting some sort of dopamine hit by getting in here and you know, showing off their knowledge of minors.
That's exactly right.
So so they're getting a dopamine hit, and that's fine. But it's like, but man, have some self-awareness, like, because
you
know,
can't.
Yeah.
Self-awareness, what's that? Right?
It's supposed to be part of the program, I thought, but
no, it's literally
there's something in there about shortcomings and
no, an ego, like the whole point of everything, and humility.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna go past that part, right? We're just gonna
disregard that. And you know, and Adam mentioned this too. You know, like with the years of experience, and it's like I ask these same people, like, okay, so when can I have an opinion on this? What? How many days or years do I need to have before I can have an opinion on this?
Yeah.
And you never get an answer. And it's like, okay, so when can I talk about the steps and all these things? I get so many times like, maybe you should get some more time under your belt before you. Okay, how
yeah, what does that mean?
How long? How long? Tell me how long? Because some places you can do an open talk at 6 months, some you can do it at a year, and it's like there's nothing in the big book. If we're talking big book, there's nothing in there that says you need to have X amount of time. Bill W. was not even weeks sober when he went in and started talking to people, when he went to Bob's house and these things. I mean, these are weeks, not years. This dude that created the shit was doing it right away, because that's the whole point of the program. You get better by working and helping other people. This whole time change shit that they got on it. That's why I quit. I'm done counting. I'm over a year, and that's what I'll say.
Yeah.
And maybe one day when somebody asks me years down the road, you know, maybe I'll say, well, you know, it's probably been, well, let's see, this was my sobriety date, and I'll do the math, maybe.
That's why
okay, so maybe this will get too far up in the weeds, but I'm looking at things completely different. Okay. I have a recovery date and I have a sobriety date. I made a choice to put myself into treatment in January of 2022. And I went there for 60 days with nobody telling me to. I wanted to go. And then right around the 55-day mark, I was like, man, I really want to go home. And so I asked if I could be released, and I'd already completed everything that they wanted me to do. And I went home and fell flat on my face for a month. Put myself right back in there again a month later to do it for another 180 some odd days. So my recovery began in January 2022. Actually, before that, when I got a sponsor and I was doing the big book, I was drinking while I was doing the big book studies, you know, going to online meetings. But I wanted it. I just didn't know how to get it. You know, so my recovery started long before my sobriety, my current sobriety date. And I'm sticking to that. And that's how it is. That's just going to be what it is for me. If you don't like it, that's fine, because this is my recovery, not yours.
Yeah, I completely agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
Completely agree with that.
There was something you said, and I was gonna elaborate on it, and I just brain farted.
Well, as some older people in my family would say, my mouth gets running like a whippoorwill's ass sometimes. So
I've never heard that.
Nobody's ever said that to me directly because I was always quiet, but before drinking. But since I've gotten sober and I learned how to talk when I was drinking, my mouth does run like a quote whippoorwill's ass.
Dude, my dad said that my mouth runs more than a duck's ass.
Well, it must be the same thing. I don't know what a
Yeah,
whippoorwill is.
I don't know. And I was like, that's rude, man. Like, damn it. What were you saying? Carry on.
Well, I was going to draw a connection there. So you said some really good stuff, Scott, and it goes hand in hand with kind of what we were talking earlier about spirituality and religion. You know, at some point, take the Christian faith, you have to go on faith that all the different translations and interpretations and everybody kind of adding their own into the mix is still what was the initial message. And so I argued with somebody about this, about the big book and AA in general. I said, is anybody that's currently alive today that goes to AA, were they in those first meetings with Bob and Bill and everybody? Well, no. I was like, okay, so if we read the book literally, it gives us one direction. But if we go to meetings and do the program the way the old timers say to do it, it's a completely different program. So the translation and the interpretation is different than the original source material.
True.
So which one do we go with?
Well, you know what their argument is well, we're doing everything by the book. I'm doing, but you're not. That's not
right.
real. You're there's no way to do that. Right? Like, well, I'm doing it by the book. You're doing it by the book. And you're doing, why are we doing it all different? I don't understand.
Perfect case in point. I think you said it earlier. I don't know if you realized or meant to, or it might have been before we went live, but my own personal belief is that I am recovered. I have never once in my life said I am cured. I know as soon as I put alcohol into my body, it's going to fuck up my dopamine system and off the races we go.
Yeah.
But as far as everything that you define an alcoholic by, I am recovered from. And if you go, I think it's the forward or the introduction or whatever in the big book, the second one or the first one, it's in there. It literally says, we have recovered.
It's the first promise in the whole book. The first promise.
If they're recovered, why can't I be recovered? You know? So.
Well, yeah, and that's another thing. Like, how many times, I think recovered said like what, 17 times or something in it. Not like, I have it written down here, but it's so it never says recovering. I mean, and that's another, I mean, there's so many arguments that really it's just so crazy because it doesn't matter, and people will argue till they're blue in the face, and for what though? Like, I don't,
right,
it doesn't get them anywhere. So another thing that I don't like, and me and Scott used to talk about this before, is to where like you're not allowed to share your experience because it could harm someone. Right? Like, Scott, how dare you tell the truth about your experience with something, or that there's a flaw in you know, a group or a human. Like, how dare you talk about that? That could hurt somebody. Well, literally you could say that about anything. And you know, like I could say, well, if I say this about that thing, like someone else could be receiving that message and they could die. Like, it doesn't make any sense, right? I think it's just like one of those arguments, but
you could say that about anything.
Yeah.
And so I could use a personal example of mine. Like, if you go into meetings, you're going to hear at some point you need to call your sponsor.
Right.
Before you do that, call your sponsor. Before
Why?
you get up, call your sponsor.
Yeah.
Well, we could talk about the fact that the word sponsor is not anywhere in the first 164 pages of the big book. We could talk about that, but we won't. I had a sponsor, and I tried to do everything that I was supposed to do because I was giving up. I was surrendering to my alcoholism, and I wanted to get better. So this guy was a brother to me. He was older than me, but he was like a brother to me. We talked every single day, sometimes more than once a day. And at some point, he decided to use a big AA term, play God. At some point, he decided to play God and to tell the woman that I loved with all my heart that I'll just fucking say it. I talk about authenticity, right? He told her that I was offering sexual favors to women for alcohol after I was kicked out. Okay. So I heard this. I was like, what the fuck? So when Miley had told me this, he decided that our relationship wasn't good for me. That's what the bottom line was. Okay. And so he had told her this. And again, I'm not going to try to dive too detailed into it, but so I I'm like, okay, so I was drunk a lot. This could have happened. I don't see anything in my messages that reference this, but what did I do? So I reach out to this guy who was like a brother to me, who was my sponsor. And I asked and reached out and said, can we talk? Can we talk? And then he finally did. And I said, look, you told Miley that I was offering sexual favors to women for alcohol. I don't remember this. I don't have any evidence that this happened. I would like to know more about it. Oh, well, we'll talk soon. And so after about a dozen messages, again, a guy that I talk to every single day will no longer return my messages or calls. So to me, that was completely fabricated, and he doesn't want to face the music for doing that, right? So this is a guy that he had me convinced that I needed to stay 2.5 hours away from my kids, from Miley, my great-grandmother. That was the right course of action for me to do, was completely uproot everything and be away from them. And I was listening to this guy. So does that mean every sponsor is bad? No, that's not saying that, because some people have great relationships. And like I said, this was a great relationship. This was a guy I called a brother for a very long time. We called each other brother when we talked,
Wow.
So there are good cases, but that's the danger of putting non-professional people in these circumstances to make decisions on your life.
Yeah.
The sponsor's whole role in AA is to take you through the steps, and that is it. There is no other. That's not. You can have a sponsor that you can call and talk to, sure, but their role is to get you through the steps, not run your life, not make decisions for you.
Yep.
So.
I get so fired up, man, because that's not just like an isolated incident. Like it happens all the time. I've had clients come to me upset. It happened to me. I mean, I don't know anybody that this hasn't happened to where their sponsor hasn't said, played therapist, played financial advisor, played fucking whatever. Like, that's not your business. And it's really, it's like pure ego to think that someone needs to call you before they make a decision in their life. We don't run other people's lives. As a friend, I don't do that. Even I don't like to even offer advice to my friends unless they're asking for it. And as a counselor, like, people think, oh, well, then that would be your job. No, like none of it doesn't help anybody. I don't want a sponsee dependent on me. That's sick. Like, there's something wrong when someone wants their sponsee to be dependent on them in that manner. And it's like playing God, and it's.
Yeah.
Adam said it perfectly earlier when he mentioned like the sobriety links, and how that gets into people's ego.
Yeah.
Anybody that, look, I'm only certified as a recovery coach. I don't have the therapist degree. I'm going to work on that like Lindsay does, but
no, I don't either.
Oh,
well,
you obviously have more certs than I do, but my point is, like, putting the drink down or the substance down doesn't automatically give you some magical perception on life. That's not a card to be able to, make these suggestions are fine. Friendly advice is fine, but to tell people and to take control of things, you have to fix the problems in order to, you know what I mean? That's just me stopping drinking. It wasn't enough.
So the way it was explained to me, because I asked this question, whether exactly what we're talking about in the very beginning, the sponsor, getting a sponsor, like, as soon as you stop drinking, the whole idea behind it was, the reason you call and ask about every decision you got to make is because, one, you have not been making great decisions. So we've got to kind of rebuild that and relearn that and practice that again. But two, if you've gone from your life sucking to now you're sober and you're in the pink cloud, everything seems like a good decision. So the sponsor just is like, kind of a stopgap measure to go, hey, put the brakes on for a second. let's think about this now. You decide,
Mhm.
but you're not being impulsive anymore.
Sure.
So you're not going to make an impulsive decision. And I think some sponsors are still like that. I think some have gone what Scott experienced. So yeah, it's humans.
Right.
You know, last person I thought would ever be defending AA, but
No, but you're right.
We're not defending. Those are all.
yeah,
that's
I mean,
all
yeah, not really.
Those are all good points. You know, I mean, it's
Yeah,
use that person who's been through what you've been through and use their
Yes.
suggestions.
Right.
yes.
Yeah,
And
but
just
don't.
because you're sober does not mean you're all of a sudden you know everything in the world.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
just
the problem. Is it seems to be that there's more the other way, and
Yeah.
from what I've seen, I don't know. You know, obviously everyone's experience, but
well,
in a perfect world, that would be the scenario and what I always envisioned and thought that it was, until, you know, I got in with a different group of people. I was in like this primary purpose group, and it was like big book, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, they take you through the steps, they do this, like they're not supposed to do that, like give advice or whatever, you know? So then I started like thinking about it differently. And I'm like, oh my God, there's so many different things. And everybody claims to be following it to a T, but everything's different. So it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know, but that's a good point. But that's why, you know, another thing too is like get a sober support community. Like it doesn't even,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, it doesn't even matter. Like someone doesn't have to have time for me to want to take their advice or ask them for advice rather, you know, like it doesn't matter to me. I don't have to, the people with a lot of time don't always know, you know,
and
you
yeah,
already
and
know.
everybody will hear what I say because they do this a lot on X. I've found that sober isn't just hates AA, and that's not what I'm doing. It's
You never
I'm
even
just
say that. That's why I
I
don't
don't.
get it.
But I'm not saying the sponsors are bad or anything. Adam said it a little bit better. You know that you can call and say, you know, hey, I know I just met this person the other day, but I want to get married. Do you think this is a good idea? You know, those are questions. If you don't have anybody to ask, I get it. And plus, it's comfortable. It's easier to talk to people that have been through what you have been through. So it's good to call them. But what I'm saying is, some people suggest that your sponsor needs to be your filter for everything.
Right.
Like, you know, and that's giving too much power to another person, because for me, in order to recover, I need to have the power, not something or someone else. That's how I recovered. I had to find the power from within. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. That, which is takes us straight into one of my favorite sayings to hate is being powerless over alcohol. Well, it's not in my house. It's sitting on the shelf up in my parents' house, and it's yet to force me to pick it up and drink it. So
What? It's
I know, right?
That's insane. It just jumps in my cart when I go to the Walmart or Meijer
Right?
around here. It just jumps in my cart. Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh, we were talking about that earlier about
the push-ups, dude.
somebody else say it.
Somebody
Somebody else bring it up, because I know that's going to go when anybody watches this. So the push-up thing.
Yeah, man.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Your addiction's out in the parking lot doing push-ups.
No. It doesn't matter what you're doing, you know, and it's going to sneak up on you, and you could just relapse. And that's bullshit. Right. That's not true, you guys. If that were the case, I would not do a damn thing for myself in my recovery. If that were the case, then I would just let it get me.
You know, I have this theory that the reason that kind of saying got started was 60, 70 years ago, we didn't know shit about neurology, neuropathways, any of that stuff. So you hear about, you know, nerves that fire together, wire together, and you talk about neuroplasticity now, which you were asking about ketamine earlier. That's kind of where it goes.
Yes.
But, you know, if you've been drinking long enough, you have these decision pathways, for lack of a better term, already there. Like they have been hardwired. It's like a river just running through your brain. This is the way the water is going to flow. Now, all of a sudden, we've stopped the water. The water's dried up. The river is dormant. It's Euphrates, and it's gone now. But as soon as you throw water in there, guess where the water is going to go? It's not going to make a new river.
Yep.
So it's really easy to fall right back into that pathway. So that's why it seems like it's out there getting stronger and stronger and stronger. No, it's not getting any stronger. It's just you got the neural pathways already ingrained inside your brain that are just waiting for you to flood them. So
Good
you
point.
don't have to go through building it back up. It's already there. It's just waiting.
Yep.
So
Good point.
but yeah, there's nothing other like the stinking thinking and all that stuff. No, there's nothing there.
Well, yeah, and I mean, and I used to believe that too, because I'd say, well, but then I realized, how could that be? How could I have it sneak up on me and relapse just out of thin air? But then they say the relapse happens before the relapse. And I'm like, I don't even know what's happening. Like, how
Right?
can it be both?
So that's why I am so like, if you've ever seen any of the stuff I put on X, everything is about observing your thoughts, observing your thoughts, observing your thoughts. And if you ever get into the point where that is just second nature, then a thought pops up and you look at it, you go, oh, I don't even know where that came from. That's just trash.
Yeah, yeah.
Or one comes up and it flags your attention. You're like, why am I thinking about booze all of a sudden? You can choose to either just dismiss it and go on about your day, and go, let's dig into this and figure out where that thought came from, see if there's something there I need to nip in the bud and just get rid of it or keep going. And so it's never going to sneak up on you.
No.
Yeah.
And you're right. Like, those pathways are still there. So you put the substance back in, and that's why it quickly goes back to where it was.
Yep.
But there's also new pathways that can be developed. I'll give you an example for myself. I was in Meyer the other day. My lady makes fun of how I say Meyer. I don't think I say it, but now I hear myself say it. But anyway, I'm in this grocery store, damn it. And I'm pushing the cart, and I stop in the chip aisle, and the liquor aisle is a couple aisles over. And I stopped, and I was like, I've just been really struggling, and I could go and I could buy a bottle. I could get it out to the car, load everything in the back, and tuck it away somewhere because Miley's in the driver's seat. She let me run in. I could do it like I used to do it. And then I could have some relief tonight. After everybody goes to bed, I could bust a bottle out and just, because that's what I've been chasing. I'll get into that in a second. But so I thought all this through, and I'm like, yeah, but then I got to hide the bottle. Then I got to worry about the smell. And then I'm going to feel like shit tomorrow. And, what else is going to happen when I do this? And I'm like, yeah, fuck it. Grab some more chips and off I go. So that would have never happened. The chips will get you too, big fella. Thanks, Scooby. So
they do. They get my ass, man.
Yeah. So I made the right decision, and it wasn't. And this all happened within like 10, 15 seconds. These thoughts, maybe even less than that.
Yeah.
And I was able to think it through. In active addiction, I would have had the bottle, and I would have been thinking how I was going to hide it in between the chips and the bags when I checked out. So
right. There was no pause there. Well,
exactly right.
So, but then that goes to say, so you don't always you said you're struggling though, and that thought came up though. And so I think there's a difference between that and how people will say, I think about getting loaded all the time, every day. And I've been sober for 20, 30 years. And like, that's kind of that is alarming to me. I like that. Yeah. That doesn't make sense.
So what do you guys think? When you have those thoughts and you want to get loaded today, what are your guys' thoughts on handling that? Do you explore those thoughts or do you run from them?
I do. I want to know where it came from.
Yeah.
I want to know where it came from.
There's a reason that I'm looking externally for something. And it's probably not because I think I'm going to go like have a party with a bottle. Like I'm not going to, because that's not realistic for the type of alcoholic I am or whatever. Right. Like there's something going on that I'm trying to avoid, distract. And then I'm thinking bottle, but it's not, it doesn't work.
I legit these days now, I think it all the way through. Like, okay, you want to drink? Let's think it through. What are we going to do here? Okay. So you can't start drinking until 10 o'clock. Like I go through the whole thing and it just doesn't make sense today.
Right.
That's the difference. Yeah.
There's probably been 2, maybe 3 times in the last 2 years where a thought kind of snuck up on me and I was like, damn it, cold beer would be good. Just kind of like, what? And, it wasn't even
Yes, I'll open it.
life sucks right now. I want to run and hide. It was just, just a random, the body's remembering stuff and it just kind of sent it up there. I think, I believe, because I know it is true for me, that you can get to a point where thoughts about alcohol will never come up as far as actually using. You're not going to ever have those thoughts of, I really want to feel better, so I'm going to drink. The only time I think about alcohol now is when I'm talking about stuff with my counselor. She goes, well, how did that make you feel? Did that make you want to drink? So we start talking about alcohol. Or I pull up to a red light, and the liquor store I used to go to was all the time there. I'd be like, remember when I used to do all this shit? I talk to myself like that. Or because I travel a lot, I'm in the hotel room. Like I posted something about the weighted mini bars now. So you guys believe the weighted mini bars now? And I'm sitting there thinking, like, 5-8 years ago, I would have been smashed and my hotel bill would have been $300.
Yeah.
That's how alcohol is in my thoughts nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody can get there, I think.
I think so.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, so this new therapist that I have, she said it's so simple. She said, well, what happens when you have feelings, uncomfortable feelings? The same with like, feelings of alcohol or using. What do? Well, you want to explore it and you want to see, well, what is it? You don't want to push it away because you can't.
Right.
And it just like stuck with me. I'm like, well, duh, like that's so true. She's like, be curious about it. Find out what it is. Like, your feelings are like a little kid tugging at your pant leg. And I was like, oh, so true.
Yeah.
That's
trying to tell you something's up.
Yeah, something's going on. What about that euphoric recall? I have the euphoric recall. I didn't even hear about that. I didn't even know what that was until someone on X said it. Some girl said it like maybe a couple months ago, and I messaged her. I'm like, "What is euphoric recall?" I'm like, I'm a counselor. Like, I've never heard this. She said her sober coach said it to her, but it's like when I think about the good times.
Yeah, you romanticize it.
Yeah, like big time.
So I went down this path with somebody not long ago, and I do remember the good times because I was in the marching band at Georgia at UGA, and trust me, there was some amazing times in different countries, amazing times, and they're fun to think about, and even we can sit and tell war stories about all the stuff we drank.
Yeah.
I don't associate all the fun and the memories and the people that I still in contact with now with the alcohol. The alcohol is something we did, but it's not the relationship. It's not what I remember anymore. So I don't know if that is something that I decided to make happen. It just goes away with time, with being sober. I don't know. But I don't reminisce and romanticize the drunk part of it anymore.
Yeah. So
Scott, you're going to jump in.
No, yeah. I mean, I was going to bring this up earlier, and then it's kind of cool that it came back around to this. Like, I've been exploring and listening to some things and trying to read some things on the learned behavior side of it. Like, there's a lot of people that don't follow the disease model necessarily. There's some people that follow like the learned behavior and things like that.
Right.
So I started thinking about that a little bit. There were 15 years where there were some bad times in there where I woke up and made some bad decisions or whatever, but I never really got in trouble. They were overwhelmingly for 15 years really, really good times in my mind. And thinking back, like, maybe I shouldn't have burnt the table legs of my buddy's grandma's table on that bonfire. But for the most part, they were pretty damn fun. I found something in alcohol, and I don't care what anybody says. It wasn't fake. It gave me an opportunity to talk to people. I could have never done this before alcohol. I would have been too freaking shy. Even if it was talking about baseball or something that I knew a lot about, I would have never been able to do this or walk up to a bunch of women in a bar and just say, hey, you guys want to play pool? I would have never been able to do this. So it opened me up and gave me confidence in myself, which I've retained. So those 15 years of learning alcohol good, and then the last 5 or 6 where alcohol got really bad and out of hand, it was hard to learn anything because I was only present for part of it.
Yeah.
Because I was so drunk and I don't remember the bad. So I'm trying, part of this is relearning these things because if I don't, and I'm talking for me only, I don't remember a lot of the bad. So it's really easy to go back and think of all the good. So then you could say the cunning, baffling, and powerful, whatever, throw whatever slogan you want to it. But that makes sense to me,
Yeah.
you know? So,
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
So you guys both brought up really, really good stuff. The payoff that I received from alcohol and drugs was very real, or I would not have practically burned everything down, right? Like, and continue to go despite burning it down and then keep going, right? Like I had dire consequences. And when I say that I am grateful for those consequences, I don't mean it in like a cheesy way, like, oh, I'm so grateful for the bad times. No, because like I'm so stubborn. And if I did not completely unravel and just beat myself over and over again, I would not have found a sufficient reason to stop.
Yeah.
And so the good times, I romanticize drugs and alcohol. Heroin chic, like like alcohol, like champagne. And I always wanted that. But when I quit, I thought like those times had really happened or something. Like I thought like these times, there were good times though, like when I partied and stuff.
Sure.
Turned bad, obviously, right? Like shit happened and there was more bad, but there were it was a social lubricant. And the first time I drank, I've told you guys, I wanted to fit in, and I wanted to, I saw this pretty girl, big boobs, and the guys were around her listening. She's talking about drinking at a football game. Well, guess who drank at a football game their first time they drank and blacked out and got kicked out of school. But I wanted the guys to be around me. Like I wanted to be popular. Like I didn't have that. I was not very cute. Like you know what I mean? Like I was made fun of in middle school and high school. And so like, when I was younger. And so like, I wanted that and I was going to do whatever, because fitting in is like, that's everything when we're that age. Like we don't see things in long term, when we're younger like that. And then looking back on it now, it's a whole different story, obviously. And I can see that, yeah, there was payoff that I probably would maybe get, but the consequences and the bad feelings would be way more. And there was another thing I wanted to touch on too with that you said. What else did you say, Scott?
I don't remember, dude. I'm holding on to something in my head right now, trying my best to remember what I'm going to
go. I got to remember what you said, and it was so fucking profound. What you said. Go ahead.
Well, okay, so how about this?
How about it?
Is it possible, because I think it's true for me, is it possible that our substance of choice, and I think most of us alcohol was one of them, gave us a spiritual type of experience?
Hell yeah.
So that spiritual experience, like I remember drinking and walking out into the woods in the middle of the night, looking at the stars and listening to the coyotes in the distance and sitting around a bonfire. And oh my God, it was wonderful. That was my favorite thing to do, was to drink and get all buzzed up looking at the stars. That was spiritual to me. So
goes right back to your God-sized hole.
Yeah.
God-shaped hole.
Yeah. No,
God-sized. Yeah, everybody.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. It makes sense. Like if you're going to look at it as two similar things, the God side, the spiritual side, if you're going to lump them together, then that makes that correlation makes sense. There was something missing that I needed to grab onto. Like the one of my favorite is connection is opposite of addiction.
Absolutely.
So in the beginning, my alcohol gave me a connection that I didn't have without it. And that was to a variety of things. So I needed to find an equal and opposite connection to get out of it.
Boom.
Yeah.
Boom. Mic drop.
So
nope. Go ahead.
You're talking about lessons that you had to learn, like being grateful for all the stuff you learned. I would say that anybody that is actually this is a question we see all the time, and we've talked about it, is how do you know you're in the path of recovery and you're not just dry drunk? I think if you can reflect back and say that these are the lessons I learned because of what I went through, then you're obviously on the path of sobriety or path of recovery.
True.
What has helped me, and this has kind of been new the last 6 months or so is, and this is just completely just a mind experiment, unless you want to DM me later and we'll talk about it more in depth. But imagine that you came to this life and you selected from a menu all the things that you wanted to learn. All right. Just imagine this is a video game. I want to learn this, this, and this. The way we learn as humans is through polarity, through opposites.
Mm.
So if you wanted to learn unconditional love, guess what you're going to have to experience a lot in life?
Oh,
Betrayal, heartbreak, people loving you with conditions. So I looked at my drinking past and the things that I did and the underlying issues, and I've tried to look at it from a standpoint of what is it that I did here and what is the opposite of that? What is the inverse of it that I should be learning? And looking at it from that perspective has put a lot of things just into focus. And so it's given me more of a, not necessarily a path, but definitely more of a, hey, this is where you really need to be focusing some of your time and attention. You're good over here now. We got to work on this.
Right.
So
good. I like
So,
that.
so you're saying that I'm going to say,
like for me personally, I feel like one of my biggest weaknesses and something that I've had to learn is to be uncomfortable. Like I've had to learn how to do things that were outside my comfort zone, because my comfort zone it encompasses a lot of things.
Sure.
And for me to grow personally, spiritually, you have to get uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And so alcohol allowed me to do that.
Okay.
Alcohol allowed me to get out of that comfort zone really easily. So now I've
Right.
got to learn how to get out of that comfort zone without the alcohol.
Oh.
So now, do you feel like you've learned how to do that now?
I feel like I am well on that way. There's no way 8 years ago I'd be doing this without drinking.
Right. So the reason, right. So the reason I ask is because I asked the question in a group the other day is, if what you're saying is that you've learned those things, and I've learned all these things, I asked the group if you could go back to alcoholic you, could you convince yourself to stop by showing what you've learned? And how
Yeah,
to do it.
that was a great question. You put that on X, didn't you?
Oh, did I? Okay.
I think
couldn't-
if you didn't, somebody did, because I remember answering it. And I think personally, it's a two-part answer. I think personally, if I could go back early enough to pre-drinking or the first couple of years of drinking, yeah, I could probably convince myself back then, it's like, hey, this is going to go really, really bad for you. And I probably would have listened. Not much past that. I think the physical addiction has already started to kind of kick in. And no matter whether I wanted to or not, I probably would have not been able to come out of it with some consequences.
Mm.
But at the same time, I also believe that even if I had been able to convince myself not to drink in the first place, I would have had to learn these lessons some other way.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
So I think that it's just the avenue that I ended up going in order to learn the lessons that I needed to learn or am learning, or, however you want to phrase it. But that's my personal belief on it.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yep.
Well, and what you just said is, that's literally what I'm working on right now is the comfort zone stuff and the fear. And,
Sounds like you're doing a shadow work journal. Are you doing a shadow work journal?
I mean, kind of. The therapist and I got a new therapist because I'm a genius, right? And I just want to torture myself and make myself do the underlying work, right? No, but I realize like it's time. I can't not do this anymore. Like, what's up?
There's a lot there if you start going down Carl Jung and shadow self and being able to incorporate that.
You want
I got
the elementary version. What's that?
I got the shadow work journal sitting right over here.
Do you? Like the elementary version is, without the dark, there can be no light. So
love you.
Taking that concept and then really starting to peel back the layers. If you're a fan of Jordan Peterson is like Carl Jung's disciple.
Yeah.
He starts
Yeah, he
talking about
loves.
actual psychology, not all the other stuff he talks about, but there's a lot to unpack there.
Okay, thanks, baby. Silas said hi. Thanks, Dave. Damn, sorry. See, I get so sidetracked.
It's okay. We were solving life's problems.
We did it and you missed it.
Well, yeah, I know. Obviously, I've missed it. I'm still over here just trying to figure out what's going on in life. Damn it. All right. I give up. No, no. Okay, the comfort zone thing. Sorry. I literally thought I was working on this stuff since day one. I was like, I am not afraid. Like, I push myself. Yeah, I may this stuff, like, I may not be fearful to like talk and do this on here, but like there's so many things that I realize that I am just totally scared of.
Yeah.
And it's holding me back in my life. And I had no idea. And so that's why I value all the work that I do. It sucks, right? In recovery, like getting down to causes and conditions, as they say, right? But for real, like down to the root of it. And it's not, I'm not figuring it out just by an inventory, like that
Yeah.
is helpful in this and that. But like this shit gets, there's trauma and stuff that a lot of people have that needs to be worked on. And
Yeah.
it's so many things. Like I think that those are the reasons why myself and a lot of people continue to reach for the drugs and alcohol.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about shame. I keep thinking about shame. Is that something that either of you guys really struggled with? And I mean, like, shame just for what happened, like, or your identity of being someone that was a drug and alcohol user and now you're not, like that shame with that identity or what you did even.
I think going into it, I didn't really know the difference between shame and guilt.
Me either.
No idea. So, and it's nothing that I grew up with. It's not like somebody ever corrected you or corrected me when it's that's shameful.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really remember making the distinction or figuring out when I realized, what, like this is not shame. I shouldn't be ashamed of this because I, got addicted to alcohol. There's nothing to be ashamed of that. I can feel guilty for all the things that I did while I was addicted. And I think it took me a while to get over a lot of the guilt. As far as the shame, I think one day it just flipped. But I wouldn't be able to point it out to you.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. Like I tell clients that come in all the time, like, I can't tell you when it happened for me. And that really sucks because, as for me being that person in that chair, I want to know what I have to do and when it's going to happen. But yeah, I have no idea when that switch flipped too. And like, we were taught in Hall that guilt is, I did bad and shame is I am bad.
Right.
And boy, I don't either, Adam. I don't feel a whole lot of shame because I know I'm not bad. Never once in when I would go out and deliberately drink, my intent was not to hurt the people I cared about. It wasn't to get behind the wheel and drive and risk other people's lives. That was never my intent. It was to either not feel something or try to feel something. And that was all it was. And
yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the old way was just saying F it, Scooby-Doo. Scooby-Doo. My old way was just saying F it. And maybe that did kind of help me get rid of shame initially of just being like, I'm gonna push myself, F it, to get rid of this shit. Because things that I had done that I didn't even realize. And I didn't understand. I always talk about this. I didn't understand that part of addiction was doing doing things like that weren't really part of my personality, right? Like I wasn't really this other person that did those things. I mean, I had to take accountability, but I just think about that often, and I've been reading a lot of Brene Brown, as you know. So, but she talks about it, and I didn't know the distinction. I thought guilt was bad. I thought shame was bad. I didn't know the difference between them. And and now I think like shame is what was probably one of the hardest things to work through and overcome, and that's kind of why I do this too.
Right.
It takes the power out of a lot of it, being able to share and say, hey, this is what
Well,
happened.
the day that you don't feel guilty about anything is the day you need to go lock yourself away somewhere, because
Sociopath.
Yeah.
I'd say so. Do you guys have any questions? Any listeners? Any friends? Anything you want to argue about? Comment?
Yeah.
Bring the arguments.
Yeah. We had up to 7 people today celebrating six pack of defeat, Dave.
Ooh, okay.
Oh, I see.
Oh, but it's never 6. It's always more. Did I miss that? I'm not.
I think that's what they're saying.
Okay. True.
So, and
you do.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, just and I'm sure you guys know this, but there is somebody in the big book that used the word cured.
What? You don't say.
Yeah.
And
it's kind of a big deal on who said it. So on page 180 in a story called Dr. Bob's Nightmare.
Oh, yeah.
But this was a man who experienced many years of frightful drinking, who had most all the drunkards' experiences known to man, but who had been cured by the very means I had been trying to employ. So they do use some pretty strong language in this thing. Now, that's outside the 164 that I brought up before that have not been changed, but I don't believe Dr. Bob's story has been changed unless he's come back to rewrite it. So that's just a strong word, right?
That is strong.
And you talk like these yellow ones. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, you can't see the yellow tabs. But every yellow tab that I have in here, I have it labeled huge statement. And so in the forward of the first edition, you guys already mentioned precisely how we had recovered. And I could go on and on. There's like 6 or 8 of these things in here where they use the word recovered.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a means to the end, right? So you can get to a point. That doesn't mean that you're protected and have immunity. Well, it does say immunity from the first drink. It does say that. But it doesn't mean that if you can go back to a normal drinker. And that's one thing that people always come at me with when I say, yeah, I'm not an alcoholic. I'm not calling myself that anymore. I'm not gonna, to me, it's negative talk to myself, and I choose not to do that. Oh, you're not an alcoholic, go drink then. Go prove it.
Prove it.
Like,
right.
What the fuck, dude? Like, seriously, man.
It's like saying, hey, I survived Russian roulette. Prove it.
Yeah, dude, my plane went down, and my pilot somehow managed to land us safe, and only 4 of us survived. No, you didn't. Prove it.
What about? I want you guys to explain what powerless means to you. Do we have a little bit of time or no?
Yeah,
okay. Because I talked about powerless yesterday in step 1, but I just want to know what your take on being the word powerless as it applies to recovery.
Okay, I'll take that.
Are you powerless for your alcoholism? Yeah.
So hold on. Down at the bottom, Lindsay, where it says post a comment, you can click on the little icon. And right now yours probably says all.
Yeah.
You can click on that and you can comment just as Lindsay. I just figured that out.
My dog.
So, okay, so we admitted that we're powerless over alcohol and our lives have become unmanageable. So you ask, what is powerlessness to me?
Yeah, what's your take? I mean, do you believe you're powerless over alcohol? Like,
not anymore, because just like Adam said earlier, that shit's going to collect dust on the shelf unless somebody else buys it. But I definitely am powerless if I choose to deal with life's circumstances. Do I know if I could stop? again, no, I don't know that, and evidence would suggest that I cannot. So because of that evidence, I choose not to. So was I? Yes, because it was, and like Adam mentioned this earlier too, like it went past the point of wanting to do it to the point of had to do it.
Right.
Like I couldn't function there for a while without getting alcohol in my system in the morning. So yeah, I was absolutely powerless. I think that I had to admit that in order to get to where I am today. And I think now I have the power back.
I like that answer.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Oh.
I got interrupted and lost my train of thought.
You're good. I know.
No, I agree with pretty much everything you just said. And I'll just say the exact same thing, but from the sciencey side of it, and say there's no way that I could drink again and it not completely crash the dopamine system in my brain. I mean, as long as I don't put it in there, it's going to function normally. As soon as I put something in there that it is decided that, hey, we're going to completely crash the way that we process dopamine and all the other neurochemical stuff in there, and
Yeah.
then I'm powerless. I'm going to want more and crave more and have to have it in order to have my brain work normally, because I'm going to be giving it something fake that is way more potent than what it makes naturally, and it's going to want more and more and more. But as long as I don't do it, then we're running on what God gave me, and good to go.
If you don't, you know. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just I read what Dakota said too, and you know, I'm still trying to explore how I feel about the disease thing and everything, but I do know this for certain. For me, I can consume far more ounces of alcohol than most people, and because of that, that allows me to drink so much, and maybe that contributes to the addiction that I had. You know what I mean? Like, if I was a 4 beer, 6-pack drinker and all right, I'm going night night, this probably wouldn't happen. So genetics play a little bit of part into that. I do believe, right? So I know there's something to that. Like I just had the shitty luck of that.
Yeah.
But then I look at like I've smoked pot enough to have a sample size that it's not addictive to me. I smoked meth. I've done cocaine. It's not addictive to me. So the substance itself isn't creating this, right? That's already something in here or here.
Yep.
Dakota, you have a lot of really good points, you know, and no matter what, like I like what you said too, Scott, about identifying as alcoholic or calling yourself that. There was a point probably a year ago or so to where I was outcasting myself and putting myself in a separate category from normies, people that never, you know, shot crack and stuff, right? Like or drink like I did. And I was shaming myself and saying, you know, and I don't know. I mean, was it because I'm identifying as an alcoholic? I don't know, but I don't sit there and say, well, I'm an alcoholic or I'm just a junkie. I used to say that to myself. Like I'm different. And I wouldn't be scared to hang out with people that weren't in the rooms, or, you know, I was like hiding out in the rooms for a long time. Fearful. So I, you know, our brains are listening to everything that we say, right?
Yeah.
It's for real.
Words are so important. If there was one thing that I had to learn and realize how much words are important, like the words that come out of my mouth. You know, when I started doing the daily affirmations, my technical third treatment, but my second time at that one last year, I started every morning going to the mirror and saying 3 nice things about myself, morning, noon, and night. And then I started making other people do it. And I promise you, for me, it did something. It made me feel better. You're not a bad person. Right. You're a good father. You're a good person. Just 3 good things, and it would flip it.
Absolutely. Yes.
I love
words.
That.
are super powerful. And I'll give you guys a lot of people don't put the second part of affirmations together. So we've heard of affirmations and probably had sticky notes everywhere, but this would be a great follow-up conversation for later. What you can do after you read those affirmations is keep them in the back of your mind, and throughout the day, be looking for evidence of those affirmations.
Ooh, good one.
And once you start doing that, you start changing the way your brain processes thoughts.
Yeah.
So.
That's my therapist is having me. She said, not the gratitude. Don't do that in the morning. She's like, because you can be grateful for whatever, and it doesn't even matter, right? And I'm like, yeah, that's true. Because I'm like grateful for a lot of stuff, and I don't show it.
And
right?
it's no effort. It takes
None.
no effort. I did that today before I let the guys from domestic violence leave today. I said we got to go around and do gratitude. Family, job, health. And it's
sunshine.
So that's
My
so
life.
great. That's a great point, dude. I'm never gonna, because of this conversation, I am never gonna make anybody do gratitude at the end of the day.
Do this.
Something positive about yourself.
Yes.
And evidenced by, and that's how we're gonna end it. Yeah.
Well, so she said, we're trying to change the pathways in your brain. I was like, okay, I can jive with that. She's like, you're in this like fight or flight mode a lot of times, right? Like I am. She's telling me this, and she's like, so you're kind of poised to see the negative, and all day long. I'm not even recalling like the positive. So she's like, at the end of each day, right, 3 things that were good that happened that day. 3 things good that just throughout the day. And that's it. And I'm like, okay, well, it helps.
All right. Well, I've got to run. It's been fun chatting with y'all.
Yeah. Hey, that was great stuff.
Thanks,
Aaron.
dude.
Let's definitely do this again.
Yes.
Sounds great.
Bye.
Yeah.
Well, what do you got?
Well, there's 5 people still listening. So if anybody has any more comments, but Alston said at the end for me, it didn't matter how much I would drink. So my thoughts on that sometimes has been this: like, I look at my relationship with alcohol as alcohol is not the bad guy.
Right.
I'm the narcissistic asshole who demanded more from that poor, defenseless alcohol. That alcohol was giving me what I needed, right? Every single time it gave me what I was looking for, but I wanted more.
Yeah.
You give me this. I want more. Give me more. I'm going to consume more. You give me more, damn it. And alcohol's over here going, son of a bitch, dude, I gave you, it's like Scotty from the old Star Trek. I'm giving you all you got, Scotty. and it couldn't possibly do any more. So I was abusing alcohol literally by drinking it and making it do more for me than what it could.
Right. I mean, that's such a good way to put it. Yeah, well, and it's just like, it doesn't even matter what substance it is for me. If I like that substance and it does for me, and it gives me some kind of payoff, like I'm going to do it. Right. And, see ya. Sorry, I can't see anyone else here. Thanks for the share. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks, Kaylee.
But because it's something, it's a deeper thing within me, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that's important to, that we always say that too. Like, and that's kind of like Dakota said, calling yourselves alcoholics is outdated anyways. It's kind of true. Like, alcohol is the substance, like alcoholics. That's kind of you call yourself like heroinics or like, I don't know, it's just kind of weird, right?
I think
it that way.
Yeah, I mean, I think in the beginning, maybe you have to admit that, I'm an alcoholic or I'm an addict or whatever. Maybe you have to put that out there to get it. I get why you do that, because that's accepting there's a problem. The first step to recovery is admitting there's a problem, and that's everything. Whether you're in an abusive relationship like guys in DV today or whatever, you get, okay, there's a problem and I need to address it. So, but to dwell on it, you know what I mean? Like,
Well, it's just like I think like in summary, the first step is really just like rooting yourself in the reality, like the truth of whatever it is. And no matter what, if I call myself an alcoholic or not, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't take away the fact that I don't do well under the influence of alcohol and
Yeah,
drugs. And
yeah,
I'm using it to feel differently. I'm not using it as a social tool in and alone of itself. You know what I mean? Like I'm doing it to like get through my life, like just
yeah.
minutes by minute by minute, because I'm not comfortable in my own skin. I hate myself secretly. Everybody else could see it, but me, I didn't know that I hated myself, right? Um,
Yeah, and I think we could hear some pretty creative things if we allowed people to express themselves in meetings.
yeah.
A little different, there was a guy. Excuse me, just squeaked like I'm 13. There was a guy in my group in treatment. He would introduce himself, just use my name instead of his, but he'd say, "Hi, I'm Scott. I'm in a constant state of growth and development."
Ooh.
That was really good. And
Yeah.
but you go to some meetings that are honed a certain way, you're going to get the side eye, and they're going to tell you to take that cotton and put it somewhere again, right?
They say, get out of here. We don't
Yeah.
like your kind.
Yeah, if you're not willing to degrade yourself, well, I've been sober for 32 years. Well,
That's so true.
push-ups, push-ups, it's doing push-ups.
Yeah, you guys, to touch on that again, I think the relapse, God, and I don't even like that saying either. The relapse starts before the relapse. I don't even like that.
No,
Uh, the downward spiral. How would I even say that? I mean, there are signs like when I start getting to where I get squirrely, like just feeling like it doesn't happen anymore, though, So I can't even really put it into words like that. When I want to escape myself, that's scary. Look
yeah,
at Dakota,
I,
you're funny.
I'm over here. I'm not. I'm sorry, Lindsay. I didn't mean to
Oh, you're good. No.
distract you. I'm just looking at what I just said, and then the thought that
What?
we had like 5 viewers, and then I started running my mouth saying that stuff, and then it went to 3. Now it's down to 1. But
Oh, no, there's
here
actually
comes.
more people in here. It's because it'll say like 1, 2, or 3, and then there'll be more. Like it'll show on my YouTube after there's more.
There's.
It's
Well,
weird.
yeah. I should check my ex while we're doing this. See the hate mail. You hate, and it's like, no,
But
dude, I don't. I don't.
you guys, and that's the thing too. Like, I'm sorry to bring it up, but Matthew Perry, okay, like that's the thing. Like, just because you say a fact about something or say the truth about something as it's presented, whatever it may be, doesn't mean that you're like hating on it or whatever you want to say. Like two things can be true at once, right? Like,
I can't. I mean, it's just we get we get emotionally attached to things. We're emotionally
yeah.
attached to our addiction. We're emotionally attached to our groups and our meetings and our belief systems, and that's fine because they're important to you.
Mhm.
And I say, and I mean it totally and genuinely, that whatever works for you, continue to do it as long as you're staying sober. That's all that matters at the end of the day.
Yeah.
To me, I don't care. I don't care what you do. You can send me messages and prayers and tell me that I need Jesus. You can do all that, and I will be as understanding as possible because I know you most of the time the intent
Right.
is positive. But my intent is positive too. My intent is to share my story, and that maybe somebody that kind of thinks like me might hear what I have to say, and maybe that'll help them get to where I am quicker,
Right.
faster than it did me.
Right, because there are people out there. There's so many people out there that are the ones that are in the meetings or whatever that will take someone down that pathway, right?
Mhm.
I don't come on here to just do that way. Like I don't know how to explain it, but there's people, if you want to take that route, take that route. I did, right? But I'm more passionate about um everybody else that hasn't found their way or doesn't know what the hell to do. They couldn't go to treatment and get introduced to 12-step meetings or any kind of therapy or anything. And that's kind of what me and Scott just are here to to say the truth about whatever we're thinking and try to guide people. Wherever works for you is what works for me, right? Like we sincerely don't care. And not in a mean way, but we literally don't give a shit what the methods someone uses to get sober. I'll help you
Yeah.
get to one of them.
Yeah, we care.
No.
We care because that's why we do these things. I mean, I'm
Right.
not making any money doing this and sitting here, for an hour and a half. I'm not getting anything but something for myself, quite honestly, to be able to
Mhm.
talk recovery, which I enjoy. And then, but yeah, I don't care how you stay sober as long as you are doing it. I don't care how you have fun as long as you're not hurting anybody.
Yeah.
I don't care what you do as long as it's not negatively impacting me or anybody else and hurting anybody.
Right.
But that's just my libertarian side or whatever.
But it's just a normal human view. Like it's a humanitarian, like pro-human
Yeah,
side, I
I'm
guess, right?
I'm
Freedom.
pro. Yeah, I'm anti-poison and pro-human for sure.
I like that. I dig it. But yeah, so I just want to say like nothing should be off limits to talk about to where it's so a program is so holy or whatever you would call it that it's off limits
Yeah,
to even talk about.
yeah,
And we're not criticizing anything, but like even
mhm.
if so, like I don't care. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
It's yeah.
Just like
And if somebody listens to me and goes out and uses again, they wanted to do that themselves. It's not
oh,
what I said, right? So to say that I've been told this by a couple different people. Again, I won't say their names. I don't want to conjure their spirits, but that I'm dangerous for speaking about what works for me. I don't suggest anything other than to try. If something's not working, try something else. I don't I don't come on these things or use my ex to tell people how to do it. I tell them how I did it, and I try to share my knowledge so it might help them find a way. Right. So I don't know a lot about ketamine. Okay. So I don't really know.
right.
I'll have to look more into that for Matthew Perry, but he was obviously an advocate for recovery. So I don't think that he was using anything. Maybe he was sly. I don't know. I don't know what ketamine's used for. But what I can tell you is this that is true and happened, and that is that AA didn't solve all of Bill W.'s problems.
True.
Okay. And he created it, and it's supposed to be this perfect, absolutely perfect thing. It didn't solve his problem. The dude went and got, which was legal at the time through doctors, LSD to
Oh,
work on his depression and anxiety. So to think that AA is the cure all, and if it doesn't work, you're just not doing it right, is really stupid because this dude created it and had to go farther and get medical assistance because he was still depressed and anxious. AA helped him stop. He created it, and by working with others, helped him stop drinking alcohol. But it's not a cure all for everything.
right. And I think that's an important distinction to make. And the whoever we're talking about right now, the other day I actually saw that this person said AA will be the thing for everything. It is the catch-all. It's the cure-all for trauma. And it's like, dude, no. Like that, you want to talk about dangerous? Like I could make a great argument against that, but I won't, right? Like I could say that's really fucking dangerous. And these people are not therapists. No sponsor is a therapist. They simply are just people that have been there in the rooms. And you know what? When I first got sober, I thought everybody in the rooms was trying to do the right thing. But it's just like anything else. And come to find out that not everybody in there has good intentions. It's they're people, right? They're fallible. So without going on a rant, it's just like we have to like be honest about shit and tell the truth because I want to present facts about something. I want to, like, I just want to help you find your way, whatever that may be. Anybody, that's my job for my job. And that's what I believe in my personal life of helping others in recovery, because I've done it multiple ways, gotten sober, stayed sober different ways. I've learned so much from clients. How much do you
Oh, yeah.
learn from clients on a daily basis that you're just like, what the hell? I'm amazed.
Yeah, there's some great things. I mean, it's very rare that I come in and I say something and everybody's like, I mean, it happens once in a while. Oh, I'm gonna write that down. That's really good. Most of the time, it's just like, that's a great point. I've never worded it like that, or I've never thought of it that way. That's a great point. And that's all. That's all. When I did the training for the recovery coach, the trainers said something that has stuck to me, and I know I say it a lot, but I'm gonna say it fucking again because I can.
Do it.
Yeah. People already know what they need to do.
Thank
They
you.
they already know what they need to do. They just need some help getting there. I
Dude,
know what I
you have
needed to do.
answers. Sorry, I got
No,
excited.
go
I got
ahead.
excited. You have the answers. We have the answers in us.
Yes.
Okay, continue. Sorry.
No, you're good. No,
He was hurting.
no, there were things that I needed to address that I knew that I needed to, but it was easier just to go ahead and drink and not address them.
Yeah.
Right. So I just needed, and some of it is I just needed a chance. I needed a chance to be able to address them in a safe place, and that's where treatment comes in. But treatment isn't going to save you without action, right? And this is gonna. I don't want to make this go on forever because I want people to actually listen to it. But
You're good.
what happens to me? This is my thought process recently. Just like putting somebody in a cage or jail, as some like to call it, but it's a cage. Let's call it what it is. You're not learning anything. You're taking people out of the environment that caused them to get there, putting them in a different environment and expecting that to change them when they get back into the other environment. That's the same thing with treatment. You can go in and you can learn all these things, and you're learning it without the outside interference. So it's not realistic, right? So I'm starting to believe outpatient might be the better answer, for the simple fact that if you can do it with consistency, you are coming in out of your environment, talking about that, and going back into it with the things that you just talked about 5 minutes ago with the people, and applying it to your life now. 30 days of getting fed 3 times a day, having to make your bed, and not having to deal with the kids, the neighbors, the friends, whatever. That's not realistic.
Right.
It's needed to recover and to get healthy and to get your mind cleared out. Absolutely. But what I'm saying is, it's why so many people are repeat offenders into treatment. I went to 4 of them. I'm one of those repeat offenders because I went to the first time. Yeah. So see, like I went to 28 days. I got to watch a bunch of TV, play a lot of pool, talk a little bit. It was a really shitty one. And then I came back feeling better than I felt in years. I'd lost a bunch of weight. I looked good. I was tan. I was wearing a pink bandana. I was marching through the store like I was hot shit.
Yeah.
Everything. Oh, job. Gotta find a job. Gotta find a job. Oh, your kids are up early in the morning. They want to do this. The in-laws or the future in-laws, maybe they're thinking negatively about me because I don't have a job. I don't have a job. That was a big one. Obviously, you can tell. You don't have money. All these things just keep beating at me. And I didn't have to worry about that when I was in treatment. All I had to worry about was getting sober, getting better. And
yeah. Why isn't this enough now? Why, what do I do now? Like nobody teaches you how to bridge that gap. Right. So I came to that conclusion as well. And I don't work for an inpatient one anymore. And I there's still things lacking in this. Like there's not group therapy. It's not traditional outpatient to where everybody gets together in one spot. So there's so many things, but like you get to recover in your home environment, and that's cool as shit. And so I can even go to them. We can go meet wherever. And so, but see, like some people need to do another tighter or more frequent kind of program before they come to this, because if say you're just like
But-
shooting heroin one day and then
Yeah.
you
But
could technically do it,
you
but it
could.
might need more support. Like,
Yeah, but
before-
these facilities, Lindsay, they're not getting rewarded for lack of people returning. They're getting funding by people served, right?
Exactly.
There's no follow through and be like, hey, this place has a success rate of this or whatever. Well, yeah, they don't have people returning because they went to another facility. You stupid ass.
No,
I
do you
mean,
know how
that's
many
a tangent.
times I got asked what our when I worked at another treatment center and did admissions, like what is your success rate? And I'm like, probably negative.
Yeah,
No, I mean, I'm being an
Yeah.
asshole, but no, but it's because it's not the thing is like, okay, you pay all this money too. Like, some people pay cash, right? Like, it could go up to like 30, 50 grand sometimes a place. Mine was like what, 12, 15 grand a month.
Yeah.
And there was no extras. There was, it wasn't like even potched. And so the thing is though, you pay all that money and what? Like, what?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I hate to say it, and I feel this is another one of those things. It's like, don't you do that? Don't you say that? But
That's-
we need to talk about it. You don't have to go to treatment to get better.
No.
You might
am
need to
patient.
get physical. I had to get physical separateness in the beginning.
Mhm.
Not when I relapsed. I mean, I went straight off of fentanyl myself. So
Yep.
there it is. It's like another thing in the face of it that shows me, recovery is an effect. Well, and then the thing is too, like, it makes you think, see, people are not gonna like this either, but it makes me think that there's more at play when I see there's not a lot of advancements in the treatment of addiction. And it may appear that there is, right?
Dude,
But we're still using the same models that were in the 30s, right?
well, and it wasn't like the disease model was a general consensus of the scientific or
Right.
medical community. It was something that was pushed, and I won't say her name either, but you can do
I know.
the research. And she went to get government funding, and every time somebody came up with a different theory about the disease model, they would squash it, and they would lose their funding because it was decided in the 50s or 60s, whatever it was,
Yep.
that it is a disease, and if you don't treat it this way, you're not going to get government funding. So why would anybody go against that? You're not going to start a treatment center going
No.
against that because you're not going to get funding and you're not going to get insurances to cover it, stay there. So that's why we can't go anywhere again, because the stupid fucking government's involved in ruining everything. Sorry, but
No, but
that's what it is.
It's exactly what it is. It's the perception. It's like, so we're gonna do the song and dance around it, and but so many people don't know, and they will argue their whole fucking life on that this is this, and that's cool. Believe what you want, but every single day, like, I want to know more about whatever it is I'm doing. Like, the books that we've read, learning more about this stuff, because if I'm gonna be telling someone like about recovery, I want to know that I know a little bit about what I'm talking about. Like, I want to make sure that I've done some research. And so that's why you guys don't ever see me pushing a certain type of recovery on anybody. And there's a reason for that, like, you have to come to your own conclusion of what you want. I'll help show you where there's answers in different books and different this and different that. But ultimately, you got to come to your own conclusion. And there's so many things that are behind whatever. And, just like
Yeah.
anything else.
Yeah, and so if anybody's still listening after, I go off on the disease thing and they didn't hang up and they're like, I hate this stupid bastard, that's okay. I'm not saying to treat it that way is necessarily a bad thing as long as you can get some help with what you need help with. I mean, you still need the therapy and you can get that in treatment.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying the people that work at the treatments are bad people and they don't they're not helpful. That's not what I'm saying. I'm talking about the monetary side of it. The people, you don't do anything without you don't have a business without trying to make money and get funding. So you have to be honest about that. So you can have a place that is doing that, the higher ups are doing that, and then you can have a bunch of counselors and people that are there to be helpful and productive. I'm not saying that. I'm
Right.
just I don't know, man.
No, because that's all that matters, though. Is like, the goal is getting help. I'm gonna help someone that wants the help. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter where I work. If I work at a piece of shit place or don't work anywhere with
Well,
treatment, you know?
yeah, and think about like the people that are in treatment. Okay, so there's people that are there to make their family happy.
Yeah,
There's a bunch of those. There's a bunch of people that are there that it's treatment or jail.
yeah,
Okay, so they don't want to be there. So that affects a lot of things too. That affects the environment. That affects the honesty and the authenticity of the group. I mean, I've seen all of that stuff. I was even in treatment with a guy that wasn't an alcoholic or addict, but his parents, his rich ass parents, thought he was, and paid out of pocket to send him to Harbor Hall. Hi,
damn.
Jimmy, to come and spend a month. And the counselors and the president all sent emails to the parents saying, "We don't think that he has a problem. He has
Wow.
fulfilled all obligations, and there's nothing else we can do." And the parents still didn't believe him. So there's even those type of people that are in treatment.
Wow, I have not come across that.
Yeah,
with
yeah,
parents like that.
COVID was happening. He was in a band, and they were becoming very successful. And COVID
Wow.
shut it all down. And he had a fifth of Jack in his freezer for more than a day, which red flag right there. As some AAs like to say he was a real alcoholic. In this circumstance, this dude was not a real alcoholic.
What's a fifth? How much is a fifth? Like, see, that's my ignorance. Like, I just drank the big ass things. Like, I don't
Well,
fucking know what.
the half gallon is the big, huge one, and then the next big one down that you see behind the bars when you go into a bar, those are all fifths. Most
Oh,
of the time, they're all fifths. They're where they mix the drinks by hand. Yeah, those are
Those
all
are-
fifths.
oh.
So, and he had one, and he's like, they'd come over and they'd see some is gone, and I'm like, motherfucker, dude, that thing would have been, it wouldn't have been a gradual decline in it. It would have been instant decline.
You want to say
Hi,
hi?
Silas.
He's got his lobster.
Nice, dude.
All
That's
right.
cool lobster, man.
All right, we're gonna get off. And we
All
can-
right. All right, gamer.
Yeah, he's a gamer.
Heck yeah, me too, dude.
What's your favorite game?
I forgot what it is.
Mario? What's it
Yes.
called again? Wonder?
Yeah, Super Mario Wonder.
Oh, I haven't played that one. Mario, though, is good in general. That came out when I was your age. Well, a little before that.
I showed him the cartoon. They have it on what was it on? It was on Tubi or something. The original like first season like Mario cartoons, dude.
Nice.
Super Smash Bros.
Or like
Yeah.
humans were like acting like Mario.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, Lindsay,
Yeah.
for doing this. And little
Love you
dude.
guys. Bye. Say bye.
Bye.
Thanks for coming, you guys. Don't give me the lobster.
Bye.
Bye.